up till this point, you could move this to overcoming the monster, or you could move this to the journey or something like that, because things start off with a desire, things go well at first, things get bad. But it's what's going to happen in the next two steps that really set the tragedy apart from any of those ones. And that takes us to the nightmare stage. And this is when things fall apart. Start to fall apart. The hero knows this. They see that everything is, it seems, is out to get him, and we see even more distrust and cutting off all of his relationships, cutting off from the people that should be caring the most about him. Total lack of trust is what's going to nail the coffin shut for the character.
Yeah, or a completely misplaced trust. I recently rewatched. We've seen the film Carlito's Way.
Yeah,
Al Pacino. Yeah, it's a classic, and that's like, obviously he's an anti-hero, but it's basically a tragedy, and he's got this plan of like moving away and starting like a legit like car rental business, but he keeps getting drawn into these situations which he has to do in order to earn this money so he can go and live the dream, and that's his desire, and that's what he wants to do, and he wants to take Gail with him, and it starts to unravel, and it goes through this nightmare stage where he crosses a moral line when he helps his friend kill off some other people, and because he's kind of just thrown in that situation, and then it all starts to go wrong, and you understand all the while, and this is another one where it happens. It's pervasive of all these tragedies where the net sort of tightens around them.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, another, and I think that the crime stories, we see it with Breaking Bad, Carlito's Way, Godfather to certain extents, and these types of stories really show that. Savages, I read the book Savages. It was made into a movie, and have you seen that film or read the book?
No.
Okay, so in Savages, you've got these two pot dealers who get pushed in from the Mexican cartels coming in to try to push to take over their business, and of course they don't want anything to do with that, and so they just want out. They try to get out, then their best friend, she's kidnapped, and so all of a sudden they've got to stay in, and now they're doing all these things to try to get out of this situation, and it just keeps getting worse and worse and worse and falls apart as they not sure where to turn, and you just see it crumbling around them, and you want so badly for it to work, that you see this plan that they try to pull together at the last minute to try to make everything work, and it still doesn't. And and the movie changed it. The movie, it was really interesting because I was like, oh, this is going to be interesting to actually see a tragedy in film. And I go watch the movie, and of course they have this happy ending at the end. They changed the ending to make it so they all live happily ever after and get away.
And
so
did it work? Did you?
It did not work in the movie. Because I liked it in the book. Like, yeah. I thought it was fitting, and that's where we come to this next part. This destruction, death wish stage that the character is going through. The hero's beaten, and it's usually a very violent way that something happens and falls apart, and then the forces that were out to get him, they either just go away or they're victorious. But either way, you actually feel pretty satisfied with how it played out at the end. It's not the anger that you feel at the end of Game of Thrones, where you feel it's so unfair, because it's set up in a way that you see this is coming, and this is how the outcome is going to have to be because of the choices that the characters have made.
Yeah, and I think that's why, like you say, that it didn't work. When they changed the ending, because this is what has been set up all the way through, and even though like you might have started to root for this character, or the reader started to root for this character, and you don't want them to die at the end, you've kind of got to because that's what you've been leading up to, and if you don't do that, then the emotional ride isn't going to feel complete.
Right. And then you don't have that, you're not delivering the promise. We've talked about that before. You're not delivering the promise to the reader. And so why should they have taken this journey with you through all of this?
Yeah, there's kind of like a break in logic, isn't there? I mean, like in sort of Carlito's Way, we were talking about trust before, and I know this is a film, And he kind of, in his panic and in his paranoia at the end, he trusts a guy that he was working with to escort him to the train and kind of like leads him into the final situation. And, you know, he trusted him, and you know, he was getting paranoid, and you kind of don't know who to trust at this point. Mm-hmm. But if he'd just sort of got on the train and disappeared, it would be such an anticlimax. It would be like, oh yeah, okay.
Yeah, exactly. And so delivering this at the end, you know, this is where you have to tie it all up really well to pull off the tragedy. And that's the thing, like, I think that the tragedy really can be a very powerful, emotionally powerful book if you allow it. You know, if you actually allow it to work the way it wants to.
Thank you for listening, and come back next week for more. Please visit thebookeditorshow.com for show notes, links to guests, books and extras, and for information on how to be a guest on the show.